rolling.
Okay.
Good there?
I think so.
You comfy? Nice and comfy over there?
I am comfy. Are you comfy?
Yeah. Make sure the cameras are on the right settings. Is everybody happy?
Everybody's happy.
No, they're not.
Well,
Something.
you want me to help you straighten out your computer stuff?
Yeah.
We need to get some more of that special mule hot sauce stuff you love so much.
This stuff is horrible. You know what? And I think that's better now. Yeah, that's better. I actually let me turn this down a little bit. Is that better? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I actually I bought some more stickers or something for another show, and they've got them in like the little ketchup packet sizes now.
Right.
You know, and they put like 3 or 4 in there, and I'm like going, let me just see if it's gotten any better. And I ripped the package open because I was making I don't know something on the stove, and I was going to put a little hot sauce in it. So I ripped it open. I just took a little sip, and I go, I can't even put it in what I'm making.
Right, yeah.
It's that bad. It's that bad. Let me back that down just a
Yes. Yeah.
so it'll lock it all up. Make it nice and purty.
We will have it next week.
Okay. And away we go.
Now for something special. The unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier, wheelwright and so on. It's a rigorous training dished out who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back to Season 9 of Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the award-winning #1 podcast to create sounder horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF1 accreditation. On this week's show, we're going to talk about structural asymmetry, also some issues in this year's running of the Derby, and also a case study of Lulu, who had a very severe crack that wasn't taken care of properly. And over to my far inside is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Travis. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. We're back in the big boy chairs.
We are.
And you know what's funny? You know, this is the first episode of Season 9, but this past weekend, you and I got to hang out together.
We did. It was a party.
It was a special event, and we'd like to thank the people out at the Dover Saddlery in Charlotte on Galleria Boulevard. I remember the
Galleria Boulevard.
Galleria Boulevard.
Yes, where the galleries are.
Chelsea and her team out there invited us, Equine Dynamics Show, to be part of their Spring 10 event that happened this past weekend. One day it rained out. I say it rained out. They had to bring everything inside. So it kind of make it kind of uncomfortable walking in the store, but holy mackerel. Stuff was flying out the door.
Oh, they had a mob in there.
Huge sale, a lot of people.
They were knocking each other down, fighting over stuff, you know.
Huge sale and huge people in there. So we were set up back. We were the heel of the store. We were back by the boot department, and we were sitting there doing our little show, and people would come by, and Mike had all his prosthetic legs, not prosthetic legs, but all his freeze-dried legs and everything out there, and everyone was touching him, feeling, and we had a line at the table. I was trying to ask Mike questions. None of them wanted to go on the air. We only had 2 people that wanted to go on the air, or was brave enough to go on the air. And if you want to see that whole entire video, go over to the YouTube channel, Mike Stine, Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine over on YouTube, and you can see the whole entire experience over there. And what I did, Mike, is I left the cameras running while we weren't on the air.
Oh.
And I sped it up, so it's like this with people running around like ants, and you can see how much motion and how much traffic was at that store.
Right.
So we'd like to thank Chelsea and her crew out there at the Dover Saddlery over on Galleria Boulevard, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. So if you live in that area, it's right off Sardis Road. But here's the thing. When you go to doversaddlery.com and you put in your zip code, you know, you don't have to tell them what store. They automatically will send you deals and stuff for that store if that store in your local area is having deals.
Right.
So you don't have to, you know, I like this store or I like that store. So that's a great thing. I thought it was kind of cool that they did that.
Right.
So you had a good time out there, Mike?
I had a blast.
You were talking. I couldn't sit you down long enough to do the show. You were standing up and people were asking you questions and everything.
They were mostly asking questions about you.
What were the kind of questions that you were getting out there?
Oh, we were discussing multiple things with hoof care problems, cracks, distortions, laminitis, and the art of barefooting horses, movement problems. There was a lot of discussions going on.
One of the things that people kept gravitating toward. Now, we brought Peggy out there, and if you look on the video behind Mike, you can see Peggy behind Mike on the statue stand over there. And it is the front quarter of a
front leg,
front
lower
leg.
limb from the knee down.
And one of the things that you brought that was on the table, and you've had it here in the studio, is an actual hoof that had laminitis.
Right. Severe damage. Yes.
So many people gravitated toward that because that leg is cut in half and it's freeze dried. Uh-oh. I should have done airplane mode.
You should have done airplane mode.
I know. And
I try to stay in airplane mode.
And people were like going, I heard it time and time again. Wow. So that's what it looks like when their feet look like that. And so many people were like, I should go on. I really didn't realize how bad and how unsound and how painful it looked with that limb, you know, when you do the cross-section cutting, how many people gravitated toward that and was just amazed of how important it is when you say laminitis. Oh, it's laminitis. They'll grow out of it.
Big deal.
Yeah, they'll grow out of it. No, they won't. So that was kind of impressing as well. And also, starting season 9, and it's going to be with us the whole entire season, is our very good friends from Canada, Equine 1, also known as a hoof doctor, but down here in the United States, they're referred to as Equine 1. And Mike, if you're watching this on the YouTube video, has in his hand, what do you have in your hand there, Mike? You've got two products.
Equine 1 hoof dressing and Equine 1 hoof mender or hoof putty.
Now, what do these two items do?
They're all natural. The hoof mender you can put in crevices and cracks and like around your frog in the bottom of the foot. If you got a sore-footed horse, you can put a coating across, stick shavings in there to keep it from in the foot. The hoof mender, the hoof oil helps as a dressing, helps with hoof wall problems, helps keep the moisture regulated. And
now, what's the advantage of this? Because we talk a lot about this hoof dressing. What's the big advantage of this hoof dressing? It's made with a special
oil. Special oil. Yes. I believe it's with birch tree. Is that right?
I believe so. Something like that.
And it has some antiseptic value to it, so it will help keep any funguses, white line, that kind of stuff away from your horse's feet.
When we had Steve on the show on actually the beginning of season 8,
right,
he was telling how it's almost like a one process tool instead of having like 15 different things in your tackle box to help with like fungus and all that stuff.
Right.
This kind of helps and takes the place of a lot of things in your if you're limited on space.
And I know from experience using the hoof mender under pads, if I've got a thrushy foot that I end up need to put a pad on, I can put it around there and wrap it up and come back in 4, 5, 6 weeks and take it off, and you got a nice healthy frog there.
Well, go ahead.
And so it will take care of a rotten foot problem.
Well, not only are they helping us out here on the show, they're helping you out as well by giving you 10% off. And when I say 10%, oh, my camera's not. All right, get my camera to focus in. There we go. This is my face.
Right.
And by getting 10% off, all you have to do is go to their website and put in Equine Dynamics or just podcast. Either one of those two will get you the 10% off, and they'll pass the savings on to you, I guess is what they're saying, for listening to the Equine Dynamics show. All right, guys, we got a lot to talk about, lots to get into, so stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Side. He'll be right back.
Maybe it doesn't want to.
Maybe I'm out of focus. Am I really?
I think you kind of look a little fuzzy today.
I do look a little fuzzy, don't I? Mm-hmm. My beard, I guess. Knock that wire off of there. There we go. That's better.
Is that more better?
Much more better.
You're coming in focus. There you are.
I look sharp now, don't I?
You look beautiful.
All right. You ready?
Yes.
Welcome back to Equine. I gotta remember the name of the show now. I got so much stuff going on. Hold on.
Right.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, brought to you by Equine 1. Get 10% off right now. Go to equine.1 for all your hoof care needs. That's equine.1 and type in the word podcast or Equine Dynamics for 10% off. Now, we're going to talk about the structural asymmetry of a horse based on an article from the American Farriers Journal that Mike's been reading here by Deb Bennett. And so we're going to dive into this. We've been talking about that. We kind of left off in season 8 with that. And now that we're going to wrap this up. And the reason why we're bringing this up, because this will have to deal with a little bit of the running of the Derby as well. And
right.
We'll dive into those issues here in a little bit. But let's talk about what Deb Bennett found out and why she started talking about the structural asymmetry of a horse.
Right. Deb Bennett, in this last article, I did not know this. I followed a lot of her work for years. And compared it to other people's work and compared it to looking at Lord knows how many horses, a lot of them.
At least two,
maybe 3 some days. But Deb and myself have some common ties, and I did not know it. But apparently Tony Gonzalez was her farrier.
Now, Tony, refresh all our new listeners out there because we gained a whole bunch of new audience being out at Dover Salary and stuff. So explain a short little recap of who Tony Gonzalez is and who he was to you.
Tony Gonzalez was one of my mentors, and his thing was work with asymmetrical horses and really paying attention to the body of the horse and the relationships between the body and what's going on with their feet. And the body drives form follows function, function follows form, right? Well, apparently, way back when, he was Deb Bennett's farrier. And
back when he was in Hawaii, or
back when he was in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Before he came from Hawaii to Virginia and went to California. I believe it was going to be he was in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
And I believe it when he was up there. So it kind of sent her on a quest as a veterinarian, trying to figure out the bodies of these horses and what was going on. And she's done a lot, and with paying attention to mechanics and function and all this, because in Tony's book he has a lot of stories. It's proper balance, movement, a diary of lameness, but he doesn't necessarily, this horse was crooked. This is kind of how I handled it at that time, and we've progressed with that quite a bit on how we can do it and bring in like Ray Morris's work in with the body work and all that sort of deal. And, it's played a big part in my career with dealing with lameness, performance issues, and whatever it may be. And it gives you so much more information than just looking at the horse's lower leg or foot, which is what, when I went to farrier school, the common thing was you don't have any effect above the knee or the hock, so don't bother with looking at it. Truth is, everything affects everything, correct?
Yes.
So Deb had gone, and she's got a number of articles. She's got a few books out there, has done some really good stuff, and it is one of the sources that I have looked at over the years and has created some of how I think about a horse. And it's right up that alley with what Tony had done, and that's what drew me to it. And then I find out, well, there's a reason it's up the alley where Tony had done, because she was involved with Tony early on in her career, just as I ended up involved with Tony early on in my career. So it's made a difference.
It's, when we were out at Dover Salary, one of the questions that a young man asked was like, back in the day, who did all the horseshoeing and did all the feet and stuff? And, we were talking to him, back in the day when you had a farm, he asked what were horses being used for? And you were like, well, most of the time here in the United States, they were initially made for work. And so the people on the farm and stuff had to shoe the horses and take care of the horses. They had to learn to do all that stuff, but it was the basic stuff. Now we're starting to learn, like Tony Gonzalez and Deb Bennett and all these other, especially learning that it's not just the shoes that you put on the horse, it's the way that you put them on there to look at the whole entire structure of the horse.
Right. There was a story, Clyde Caldwell. Clyde was worked directly with Tony quite a bit. And Clyde was Eastern Band of Cherokees, and he said when he was a kid, they were poor, they plowed with mules. And Clyde was well into his 60s when I was in my 20s. So he was...
So 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yes, exactly. But he said he had to ride his mules to a blacksmith that was 5, 6, 7 miles away, whatever it was. And there was a guy just down the road that shoed and had a little shop at his house because they were going to the shop. And he never could understand why he had to take the mules to Blacksmith A or B or whichever one it was, the one that was further away. Mm-hmm. And he would ride the mule, lead a mule, take them there, and then bring them back. But his dad knew from plowing mules, if the hocks were rotating, the mule wouldn't hold up. And the guy that was close to the house, the hocks rotated when the mule was pulling straight. When it went to the other guy, they did not. And the guy that was 5 miles away would not tell the guy next to him what he was doing. So there was a lot of stuff figured out with this, always has been. And for years, we passed it along to our apprentices, and nobody else knew it. It was a trade secret. In the last 30 or 40 years, people started writing books about it. But we got away from the use of horses, so a lot of stuff was forgotten. And his thing was, we are relearning how to shoe horses. We're reinventing the wheel. And they've come up with a lot of new products out there. But it doesn't get you around learning the horse and understand the horse and the whys of the horse.
And the biomechanics.
And the biomechanics of the horse. Then, having a mule to plow your fields was a big investment. And you had to keep that mule healthy and working as long as it could. You couldn't just go get another mule to retrain. It took a lot to do it. Just as some of the competition horses that have climbed the ranks that I work for, it's a huge amount. They got to stay sound as long as they can.
And then someone created the combustible engine, and see you later, horses.
Right, and now they've come back in a different capacity in their lives.
Right, and now we have to make sure that we're taking care of them because they're not being used as they were intended. They are now being used for, the gentleman who we were talking to says, why would someone want a horse? Why would someone want a horse? Why would anyone want to put all this money? That was the big thing, all the money into these horses. And the answer I had was the only thing I could see was it's a hobby. It's not a luxury. I don't want to say that. It's a hobby. It's a sport. Let's say, and I was talking to him, I said, what if you like baseball and don't you want the best cleats? Don't you want the best bat? Don't you want this and that for the love of the sport?
Right.
And it's kind of the same way with horses.
There are still people that are actually working horses, pulling and different jobs.
Well, anytime you go to
some of the ranches out west, they still use horses at times.
Well, not only that, just when you go to any tourist town, you always see the horse and buggy carts. They are still working, and you can go on a fence back and forth as far as whether they're being humane with them or not. Their living conditions, but hopefully the state that they're living in, they're enforcing the rules as far as
sure, and they're being watched, and that's a huge investment. You want it to be there, healthy, to do the job. So I think, for the most part, people are trying to take care of their animals.
All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, speaking of doing their jobs, there was a whole bunch of horses that were doing their jobs in less than 2 minutes, and we'll dive into what actually happened at the Derby, and we have a small little clip because Mike's going to talk about it, and we're going to show that. So if you're not over on the YouTube channel right now, for every podcast we do, we have a YouTube video. You can see here in the studio, me waving to Mike, Mike waving to me, and hopefully you're joining us as well over on YouTube. Just search Equine Dynamics Mike Stine. Stick around. We'll be right back after this.
Trying to get my hand where it works. It doesn't always work.
Is your right hand or your left hand?
Right hand.
Oh, yeah. You don't need that one.
No.
You got to keep that hand strong. Are you ready? Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, brought to you by the Hoof Doctor, also known here in the United States as Equine 1. Get 10% off your hoof mender and your, what was the other item that they had right there?
The hoof dressing, equine.
Hoof dressing and
natural hoof dressing.
That they have over there.
We don't want to mess with chemicals all the time, do we?
No, we don't. And you can get those right now. They're going to be sticking around with us for the whole entire season 9. So make sure you show them some love and support going over to equine.1, and they'll show you some love and support by giving you 10% off with the keyword Equine Dynamics or the word podcast. Take your pick, but you can pick whatever you want, and get 10% off. And over to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You know, I keep referring back to the Dover Saddlery store because it was amazing how many people came out. You know, we sit in this studio and we see the comments on the Facebook page, and you know, we get the questions that come in, and we physically, I mean, you see a lot more face-to-face people than I do.
Right.
You know, just being a farrier and stuff, and me being a homebody here in the studio. I don't leave the studio at all. But when we were out at Dover Saddlery on Galleria, out there in Charlotte, it was amazing how many people came up to you and was like going, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but you worked on my horse about 2 years ago,
or longer,
or
whatever."
Yeah, well, whatever." And you were like, "Oh, it's the such and such horse," and the person was like shocked and going, "Yeah, you remember?" And you're like, "Yeah, because I remember working with such and such and such and such." And you started these conversations and stuff, and then you saw some old timey guys that you used to work with and stuff. But it was amazing how many people. I mean, we live in Marshville, which is about 45 miles from Charlotte or the Charlotte area. And it's amazing how many people getting that close to Charlotte, how many people's lives and horses you've affected and touched and, you know, worked on or been involved with.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that think I am a little touched, you know,
in a special way. So I thought that was very interesting to see that, interaction and stuff. And we were out there for 4 hours or something.
Right.
Yeah. We had to basically stop and put everything away. We're like, okay, people, we have to go. Sorry. So hopefully we made some new friends out there, and I'm sure we did. Now the Kentucky Derby ran, what was it? Saturday that they ran?
Saturday. Yes.
Was it Saturday? I don't know.
Was it Saturday?
I don't know. I could be wrong on that. I don't watch the Kentucky Derby like you do.
No.
But sometimes all the days blend together. This was
Saturday.
This was the 150th Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs, raced on Saturday, May the 4th in 2024. So may the 4th be with you. Oh, it makes me annoyed doing that.
The 4th.
So if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, I'm going to pull this video up. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I knew that was going to happen. This is the last and final turn, the long stretch before the end of the race. Now, who won the race?
Who won the race? There we go. I should remember. I was there for it. Actually, I watched the film.
Hold on. Cut this out, so don't worry. Let's see. So when it came down to the final, they decided the first Derby decided by a nose margin since 1996. Mystic Dan, number 3, finished first, with Sierra Leone, number 2, finishing second, and Forever Young, number 11, finished third.
All right, look at those front legs.
All right. Let me make sure I got that on the... Yeah. All right, I'm looking at the front legs here.
Right.
What am I looking at?
Doesn't it look like they're crossed?
On number 2 here?
On number 2, yes. On Sierra Leone.
They do look like they're kind of crossed together.
That's kind of... It's interesting watching some of these horses run and the direction the legs go in. And that was one thing about the movie Secretariat. You could see a lot of that. And as far as the way the legs flail through the air.
All right, so let's
you
look.
wonder why the legs don't just snap off.
I know they're so skinny, holding that big old body up in the air. So this is going to be the last and final turn. I'm going to play this segment for you, and we're going to stop it a couple times because Mike was saying look at these horses, how they're leaning. I mean, right here, starting in this freeze frame right here, you can see all these horses are leaning on each other right now.
They're kind of holding each other up almost there, right?
Yeah, they're butt to butt to butt to butt.
Mm-hmm.
So,
not much room between them there. They're bumping.
Yep. So here we go.
Phantom, and there on the far outside, here comes a run from
All right, so what are we looking at here, Mike? How's everyone doing in this final quarter turn?
Everybody is doing pretty good. Our winter horse is still out there on the rail. Everybody's starting to make a move.
And resilience has now.
Now these two right here, if you're watching this here on the YouTube, I'm sorry, I don't have all the names in front of me.
Right.
But the gentleman with the yellow hat and the gentleman with the red hat, these two horses, their legs are almost intertwined with each other, and one's... My airplane mode went off. And they're like almost in lockstep with each other as far as one leg lifting up and the other one taking the place of where that horse's foot left off.
Yeah, they're almost on top of each other's footprints. I mean, they're moving pretty close to each other.
So here we go.
moved up to take the lead.
And if you watch down through there, Sierra Leone and Japanese horse, they're bumping on each other.
These two on the outside.
Right.
Yep.
And if you watch the jockey on the outside, he's kind of working that head out, trying to get him off of the other horse. Now, it kind of makes me wonder, is the horse trying to cut the other horse off? Because they will. Mm-hmm. They will. I had a horse that I rode for years. That if you're trail riding, somebody said they're going to move up beside you, she would inch over unless you corrected her on it, because she's like, I'm out front. I'm going to block you. And some of that horses will do to each other at times. Now, the other thing is, if they keep leaning into each other, do they have a little bit of a posture problem? It would be real interesting to take a good look at these guys out from under saddle and the backside when they're cooled down and all that, and looking at the muscle and shape of their bodies.
Because, I mean, it's one thing, like, if you walk in a circle all the time, you're going to have, I hate to say, your one leg might get longer than the other leg because you're constantly in that leaning circle. So that could technically happen with these horses as well, right? The right side of their body would develop a little bit more of a push into that circle as the left-hand side of the body.
But there was a shot somewhere, not in this clip, of these two almost straight on that I saw. And Sierra Leone's hindquarters is not directly, but kind of canted to the outside. Crabbing a little bit. And the other horse is kind of going the other way. So are they just doing this because they're pushing on each other, or do both of them have a bit of a posture thing, and that was causing a little bit of a collision? That's a question.
So here they come. Yeah, see, I can see the horse's head right here trying to lean away.
Right. But they're putting their shoulders into each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And here they go. Final nose. There you go.
Right. Then the other question is, if they were not such close quarters, could that not have changed the outcome of the race? And in a couple more strides, you could have had a very different outcome.
Now, look, right here. You were talking about, let me get back to this. Hold on.
Right.
Watch them when you were talking about you want to see them cooling down. So here they are. Jockeys are standing up.
Right.
So here's a great picture right here of them cooling down.
Right.
Hold on, right here.
And Sierra Leone,
right here.
He's still...
Yeah, see, right here?
He's not traveling in a straight line, but his head's pulled out and he's getting him off the other horse a bit.
Now, you know what he looks like?
What's that?
You ever seen those little sprinter cars with the big spoiler on it when they go into the turn? They don't turn into the turn. They turn opposite of the turn and kind of slide around those turns. Yeah. That's what this horse is looking like.
A little bit, yes.
Drifting.
He's a drifting horse.
Yeah. I can tell. Yeah, his backside is completely. He's like almost running diagonal, sideways.
Almost, yeah. But they were, and both of them are a bit, and they were doing some bumping and pushing it, laying into each other a bit. And the jockeys were trying to manage the situation the best they could, because there again, no fouls were called. Horses are being horses, but you kind of wonder.
So here's the winner right here, number 2.
That's second place horse.
Oh, was it? Never mind.
Right.
What do I know?
In your world, it could be the winner.
Number 2 is always number 1.
But just a head bob could have completely changed the outcome on that.
Yeah.
Is that not? Yeah.
Very, very close. So, as far as your opinion about the actual race, did you think it was a fair race? Did you think it was a good race?
I think it was a good race. Now, they did have to contend. It had been raining, and the grounds crew did as they always do, did a phenomenal job of prepping the track.
Now
the race.
we in past seasons we've talked about the condition of the track as far as it being synthetic or natural stuff. Remind us again, what did they decide to do with the Derby track, the Kentucky Derby track?
From my understanding and what I saw when I was at the Breeders' Cup here a couple of years ago, a lot more of them are going back away from the synthetics. But you have a lot of material to deal with between the base and everything else. And everywhere the sand is going to be a little different. But with taking care of the track and managing it and dealing with the fact that it was wet, and
every horse out there was brown.
They were all brown.
They were all brown.
It was a little sticky as far as the dirt. Did that have an effect on the speed of the race that day? Yes, it did.
Was that one of the faster races or one of the slower races?
Well, it would probably slow them down a bit.
Okay.
But on the other end, I haven't heard of a single injured horse from slipping or sliding or anything too much in it. So I think that the crew out there managing the track, as always, they did a phenomenal job of preparing that track and making sure things were the best they could get it for the safety of the animals.
And managing the shoes as well, because you would
as
have...
far as the farriers, yes. Our friends over there that are working on horses, they have to take considerations when they're dealing with a wet track versus a dry track. There again, got to keep your horses upright and going as safe as possible.
All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, we're going to talk about Lulu and a severe hoof crack that Mike was dealing with, and some of the solutions and some of the issues that he found. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget, you can get 10% off all your hoof care products from Equine One. Just go to equine.one, type in Equine Dynamics or podcast when you go to checkout, and you can get 10% off your whole entire purchase of your hoof mender or your hoof
dressing.
Hoof dressing,
all natural hoof dressing.
And don't put it on your salad.
Really?
Yeah, don't put the hoof dressing on your salad.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about, speaking of hoof dressing, Mike, you came across this issue here. And don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video. And you can see this picture, this photo in real time as we're talking about it here in the show, in the studio. So let me switch to camera 6 so we can all see this and we can all be friends.
Right.
Mike, what are we looking at here? This looks like someone had
the horse is shedding.
The horse
a lot.
is losing all its hair. This is Lulu, and Lulu looks like it had a hangnail and someone just ripped it off.
Right. Lulu has some damage in the coronary band, and there's a crack that grows down following that point in the coronary band. Because of what Lulu is actually doing, we've opted to barefoot the horse. Now, the crack looked closed up. The shoes that were on Lulu before I worked on it that day were clipped and were stabilizing the crack and holding it together. And the owners look, that crack has gotten really good. It's closed up, which I should have taken a before picture, did not, because I don't think about that, right?
Right.
I don't think until after it's happened.
Well, your main concern is to try to take care of the horse first.
The horse, I'm wrapped up in that, nothing else exists. But what happened was we removed the shoes. You see down the crack where we have cleaned everything out.
Like, look, it's nice and purty.
Right. And if the outer wall looked pretty well connected right up to the crack. But when you went up under it, there was a lot of black material in there. And went in there and cleaned that out with just a hoof knife. And down on the lower wall to the back, there was separation under there, which has been pretty well removed at that point.
Oh, right here?
Right. You see all that black stuff on the... And I didn't want... since we're barefooting the horse, I didn't want to pare it down to nothing.
That's what I was going to ask. Are there shoes on this horse?
There were. You see the nail holes?
Yes.
So there was separation at that point. That side of the hoof has been damaged. It's weaker than it should be. And this is a case, well, maybe, just possibly. We don't know because we can't go back and recreate this. Mm-hmm. Some equine #1 hoof dressing on that horse may have helped with a little bit of fungus and trash undermining the weak area in the hoof wall.
So that's a good reason to use the hoof dressing.
Yeah, that could have easily made a difference. We don't know because it didn't happen. And that whole side of the hoof has been damaged. There's scarring in the coronary band. And at one point, there was a big, ugly wound that grew down. It started off as an abscess, and it just wouldn't clear up and grew down. And there's some damage to the lamina, I'm sure, through that area. But just that outer layer of the hoof wall was separated out, and there was trash under it, even though with the clip and everything, it was held into place. So you got to look a little further than just externally what's going on the hoof wall.
Outside of the crack, I in my opinion, Mike, just from doing this show,
you got hair in the way. Should have cleaned that up.
Right.
Because somebody was really looking at photographs.
It's okay. In my opinion, Mike, after doing this show with you for almost 3 years now, I'm looking at this hoof, and we've seen a whole bunch of different hoofs throughout the several different years and stuff. This hoof, technically, in my opinion, looks healthy. It looks nice and thick outside of the actual hoof crack that kind of developed here, but this could have easily, with regular maintenance and stuff, or like the hoof care dressing or something like that on it, could have been absolutely prevented.
Right, but I want to take you back and take one little quick look at something.
What's that?
Go up the hoof wall.
Okay.
At the front of the hoof.
Uh-huh.
Okay, at the front edge.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Open up your view a little bigger.
Oh,
Okay. Just on that very front part of the hoof, the dorsal hoof wall.
okay.
Okay. When you follow that dorsal hoof wall up to the coronary band in the front, you see you've got some angulation changes in there.
Okay. Yes, I do see that.
Okay. You've got some instability in that foot. We know we know on this lateral side of the hoof, we've got damage. We hadn't got the strength in the hoof wall that should be. On the medial side, we're pretty okay. So structurally, as the foot gets longer, you are getting some leverage, and that dorsal hoof wall is pulling forward. Now, what that would look like on a radiograph is the coffin bone is going to be lined up more with that top half inch of the hoof wall. Mm-hmm. So if you look at that outer wall, is it going to line up quite dead on with your coffin bone? Not necessarily.
So what's the next step for Lulu now?
Lulu is going to be maintained barefoot. Lulu is moving to a new home. Lulu is pretty much retired. Has been pretty much retired.
And of course, I always ask the question, what's the horse's job?
Hanging out and letting the owner enjoy seeing Lulu.
Well, very good. So when's the next time you go see Lulu?
I'll see Lulu again in about 4 weeks.
Okay. So we want to update on that.
Yeah, trimming a foot like this, you don't want to go too long, because if you're chasing distortions, you can never get ahead of it. And this is not the prettiest trim job, but on the other end, especially up under the foot, left all the material in there we could.
Now, this is Lulu's 1 foot. What do the other 3 look like?
The other foot are pretty healthy. This foot's been damaged.
So kicked a fence, kicked a pole, kicked another horse stepped on it, something like that?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
Any
of the above.
D, all of the above. All right. Is that it for Lulu?
That is it for Lulu.
All right. Well, we wish Lulu good luck out there. And we're going to take one more little quick break and come back and wrap up the show. You listen to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Make sure we give thanks to them and Dover.
Right.
I don't know if it's, you see all the allergy stuff that's on the concrete out there?
Yeah.
Never had allergies till I moved here. Florida. Gotta eat some more.
Florida people.
Yeah.
Florida people.
Weirdos.
Yeah.
Here we go. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, brought to you by the Hoof Doctor up in Canada, but also known down here in the United States as Equine 1. Make sure you get 10% off. Go to equine.one for all your hoof care needs. Put in Equine Dynamics or podcasts to get your 10% off, and do that now. As you can tell, that last scene with Lulu there, some of that hoof dressing might have helped if done earlier and done properly in time. So check that out as well. All right, what did we learn today, Mike? Structural asymmetry. What do we mean by when we talk about structural asymmetry?
Unevenness, bad posture.
Like me.
Like
slouch.
Wasn't gonna come straight out and say that, but
I say this every time when we talk about structure and symmetry of a horse. Every time Mike says it, if you're watching this on the video, I'm always like slouching over like this.
Well, it's just like,
as soon as he says it, I sit right up. I'm like, oh, I am slouching.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, with us as humans, we're not 100% symmetrical. One of the points that has been brought up is, you see those pictures where they split somebody's face and then make both sides the same. They look like some
totally different
alien.
Yeah.
Well, our faces are not as symmetrical as our eyeballs make us want it to be.
Right.
And neither is it with the horses.
The issues in the running of the Derby this year.
Wet tracks. And, with the horses bumping and banging and all this sort of deal, leaning into each other, it'd be interesting to take a look at this horse, see how symmetrical they are, if their body wants to go in that direction because of posture or development, or if they were just doing it to, well, be horses and butt heads.
Or the jockeys button heads still.
Right.
And the case of Lulu and the severe crack.
Lulu, just some management, and
could have been prevented. That you saw or no.
There's things that could always be done better. With the weather being as wet as it is, you're going to have a lot more stuff in feet. You're going to have a lot more, if you got damaged feet, them wanting to come apart. Could something like all natural equine number one hoof dressing to keep the funguses out of that foot, could that have made a difference to keep the foot a little drier, to keep the consistency better? Could that work? Yes, it certainly could help.
All right, guys, if you have any questions for Mike Stine, make sure you go over to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says contact us. Fill out that little form. Make sure you put a physical return address out there. We'll send you out some prizes and some stickers, some magnets and stuff. And also, if you'd like Mike Stine and myself to perform this podcast at your location as well, go to clinics at the top of the page. Fill that out, and Mike Stine can come out there and perform a clinic out at your location, or we could broadcast out at your spring tent sale, or if any event you got coming up, or a barn full of people and just want to have some fun, we come out there and we have a good time. So do that as well. On behalf of Mike Stine over there,
have a good day. And if you saw us at Dover, thank you for coming and sharing some time with us.
Thank you, everyone at Dover and Chelsea and our amazing crew over there. We thank them as well. My name is Travis, saying see you next week.
Thank you. Have a good day with your ponies.
Messed that up.
Hi, Lucky. Good night, Ned. Hi, Dusty.
Good night, Ned.
Good night, Ned.